when we look at the masjid in Fajr, the masjid which during the rest of the year is empty, we see full. People are filling up the masjid. Now, we know that for some people it's just a ritual. We talked about that already. Ramadan Muslims, right? But the point is that for many other people, it's not people who are just, they really have no belief and it's just a ritual they're going through. No, there are people who believe, but due to the weakness of their belief, they end up making their prayer at home or whatever. They've not given up prayer. But in Ramadan, they will come to the masjid, which is what they know they should be doing anyway. So we see a change taking place. The masjids become full in Ramadan, when outside of Ramadan they're not. If we look at the Qur'ans which are throughout the year dusty, dust builds up, piles up on them all through the year. In Ramadan, the dust is blown off, people are reading the Qur'an. We have examples here behind us, people reading the Qur'an. After every prayer, we see people picking up the Qur'an and reading the Qur'an. Large numbers of people. Again, as we said, some people it's just a ritual. But there are, for many people who know I should be reading the Qur'an. But due to this reason and that factor and the other, they get distracted and are too busy to read the Qur'an as they should. So in this month, they're trying to make up and to read more Qur'an. And of course, if they're reading Qur'an with a consciousness, thinking about what Allah is saying to them, it inshallah will improve them and help them to change. We also see amongst people a change in their behavior. People who outside of Ramadan will get into arguments quickly with you, etc. You find during Ramadan, they tend to hold back. So you find change taking place in character and practice. We also find, for example, that in Ramadan, people are able to give up certain corrupt habits, etc., that outside of Ramadan they can't. And the example that the Imam gave was that of smoking. You have chain smokers who, you talk to them outside of Ramadan, brother, this is haram. You are killing yourself. Suicide is haram in Islam. So and so. But, I know, brother, but, it's just, I can't give it up, man. When I give it up, I get headaches, my body goes through, what they call withdrawal, and, I just can't function. I have to have the cigarette. But in Ramadan, he quits. He might, as soon as he breaks the fast, he might be smoking, but during the day, for that, 10 hours or whatever, he's not smoking. If you ask him to give up for 10 hours during the rest of the year, he'll be shaking. He can't do it. But in Ramadan, somehow, he is able to do the impossible. What during the rest of the year appears impossible, he's doing. These are all among the signs that let us know that it is possible for change to take place. Muslims are able to change themselves. We can change the present condition of Muslims. However, it's going to involve jihad. Jihad on ourselves, our own desires, jihad, waging a holy war, if there's such a thing as a holy war, waging war against ourselves, against the evil which is within ourselves and outside of ourselves, in our families, in our communities, in the society, in the nation. We have to wage war against it. But with patience, if we are firmly behind our efforts, then change becomes possible. And it is only those who disbelieve really in Allah who give up any hope for change, who give up any hope that Allah will come to our aid. If we make an effort, change can take place and we can receive the blessing and support of Allah, which would give us success in establishing or re-establishing Islam within our lives, our families, and the countries and around the world as a whole. So, as a summary, we said that Ramadan has lessons. Among them, taqwa, consciousness of Allah. The strengthening of our bonds with Allah through worship. Developing patience and strengthening our will. Fleeing from doing acts of worship for the admiration of others. Developing and improving our character, our moral character. And perhaps the greatest of lessons, realizing that change is possible. This is not to say these 6 which the Imam mentioned are the only possible lessons which may be gained from Ramadan. But these are major lessons which we all should reflect on and strive over the course of the next 2/3 of the month to try to get something of these lessons, so we may come out of Ramadan having benefited from the fast and having come closer to Allah in our actions as well as in our faith. If there are any points which I missed, anybody would like to add? As the Imam usually, when he's speaking, he's saying many things. We try to pick up as many as we can. There's usually 1 or 2 points that slip by. If anybody else caught something. Are there any comments or questions people would like to raise concerning Ramadan?
I'd just like to point out that I've noticed from reading some of the hadith that one of the things that's most encouraged in Islam is that if you do something good, you should try to do it continuously, or you do it regularly. And something small which is done regularly is much better than doing a big gesture from time to time. And particularly these people who are just going to the mosque in Ramadan should think about that.
This additional recommendation from Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to try to be constant in our actions is something that we all should reflect on. However, one should not think from that statement of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that it's better for us to do a little regular than a lot intermittently. But since that's the case, there's no point increasing our actions in Ramadan, because a person could also take this other interpretation from the statement. So it's better you just keep doing a little and do it regular outside of Ramadan, inside of Ramadan, than to try to do a lot in Ramadan and then you come out of Ramadan, you can't keep it up. No. Though the recommendation in general is that it is better to do a little regularly than a lot intermittently, Ramadan still is a period of time in which we are encouraged to do as much as we can, to increase all of what we're doing. And this increase is not, it does not become meaningless or loses its value if when we come out of Ramadan we're not able to maintain the same status or the same level